So let's first make the cane for the roses themselves. You need to use white pearl, not just plain white, for this, because you want that beautiful mica shift that makes the roses go in and out. And you see that I give it a little bit of a hue using some fuchsia. And you have to bring that fuchsia almost all the way into the white. Then once you did your Skinner blend, of course, you make it in a long strip in length, and I like to get it on a very thin setting on the pasta machine. Then you simply roll it, starting with the white end, so that would be in the middle of the roll. And then consolidate your roll and reduce it a little bit to make it a little bit longer, so that you can cut it in two, and then cut each of those halves in 6. You do not have to cut all those 6 parts perfectly even, because the petals in a rose are not perfectly even either. Then once you have cut your 6 pieces, you go ahead and flatten them a bit, still leaving that white part, that white middle, a little bit more raised. The idea is that you have to flatten them to widen them a bit, but try to keep them all the same height, the same length if you want. Just make them wider, and with that white area in the middle a little bit raised. And you see how after I flatten them totally, I then press on both sides to make the very edges a little bit thinner, while keeping the white middle a little bit higher than the rest. Then you take the smallest of them, and I'm using here the cane bender, but you can use the handle of a paintbrush. Start folding your first petal, and then as you place the petals, place the new petal a little bit underneath of the previous one. See how I leave the end of the previous petal out a little bit, and then I place the next petal under it, because rose petals do overlap each other as they go. Then once you made your rose, all you have to do again is to consolidate this new cylinder, and then you'll have to reduce it. Now it all depends on how big, whatever you want to do with these canes, how big your piece is. But generally speaking, for this specific pendant, you want to have 3 sizes. One size that would be very small, probably about 3 millimeters in diameter. Then one size that would be a little bit larger, like 4 or 5 millimeters, and one size that would be even larger, and that would be about 7 millimeters, because you want to give the feeling of perspective, the feeling that you're looking at a bouquet of roses, and obviously the ones that are in the back, you will see them smaller. So as you see, I am cutting pieces of that cane, and I am reducing them at different sizes. Now for the next, for the leaves, we are going to use this mix. And of course you can vary the mix. I would still suggest that you leave a lot of white pearl in it. And then I'm going to keep about a quarter of it to the side for wrapping. And I'm going to put 1/4 of black for the whole amount of white pearl mix that I have there. And you see here that I'm doing my famous V-fold, so that I push that black a little bit towards the light end, so that I can get a really defined gradient. And the same as for the previous, once you get your Skinner blend gradient done, then you pass it in length through the pasta machine, and you do another roll again with the lightest end in the middle. And this is actually a slightly modified barbed cane. If you haven't seen my barbed cane tutorial, I will be putting both link in the cards and in the video description. Then I'm taking a very thin layer of black and I'm wrapping it around the cylinder, and then a very thin layer of white pearl and I'm wrapping it around the cylinder. After which I get again some black, this time on the thickest setting on the pasta machine, and I am wrapping it around the cylinder again. Once you got your whole roll done, of course, consolidate it a little bit to make sure that you don't have any kind of air pockets inside, and then cut it this time in 4. Then exactly like for the regular barbed roll, start pulling the edges towards the middle, and then slightly flatten each of the quarters. For some reasons, the white pearl I had was a very, very soft clay, and I hadn't realized that before. Remember the thing I had with the white Premo? This one was pretty much as soft, but it wasn't sticky, so I'll know and just leave it out for the future. Then simply put together your quarters. You see that by this time they look kind of like teeth. Reduce a little bit and then put them again together, and then reduce even more until you get a very, very fine pattern. You'll have to do this several times. Once you get your refined pattern, then you have to reduce it again so that you can cut it in half and make the leaf cane. And this is very important. Number one, it's very important to have a very refined pattern, because if you have a very reduced and refined pattern, that's when you will get all those beautiful mica shift blingy things. But once you get it to the point that you can cut it in half and do a leaf, then pass whatever's left of the white pearl mix through the pasta machine on a thin setting, and then put a little bit at the back where you have the black, and then put them together with the light area facing outwards and the dark area facing inwards, and then gently start bringing the ends together. Obviously, if you're bringing the ends together, you'll have to add a little bit more of that white pearl mix, because that is the central vein, obviously, and do that on both ends, and then pinch together both ends to create the leaf. Of course, this is not at all realistic. This is not, it's just a artist vision, and it's going to look pretty on the pendant. And of course, you can make a brooch or whatever. Then get the remaining white pearl mix and get it again through the thickest setting on your pasta machine, and you will use that a little bit later for some very, very fine lines. But continue reducing your leaf cane, because here too you will need about 3 different sizes. And once you get the size that you will want to have, wrap it in some of that white pearl mix, and then keep reducing it. Again, you will need 3 different sizes: the leaves that will be all the way in the back, then the ones that will be a little bit more in the front. As you can see, I am reducing it as a diamond because it's much easier to reduce it that way. Only that because that white pearl Premo was very, very soft, you see how it's kind of smooshing. Oh well. It will be all good for the backing, and you'll see it does a beautiful, beautiful backing. So again, I am obtaining 3 different sizes of leaves. And you see one of them is about, the smallest is about 5 millimeters. Let's take a look to it very close. But once it's not baked yet, you won't see all the prettiness inside. Once it's baked, you'll be able to. And then we are ready to start arranging. First time I have a cutout of scrap clay on the thickest setting, and then I'm getting a piece of black clay on a relatively thin setting, not the thinnest, but a medium thin. And then start arranging, starting with the leaves, because in some areas the leaves will be covered by the flowers. And as I said, whatever's left over from your white pearl, cut very, very, very thin strips and just arrange them like if they were strands of very thin grass coming out of the bouquet. Because you know you have all kinds of ornamental fillers in a bouquet. But you see how I'm placing the smallest leaves in the back, and then the middle, towards the middle, and then the largest leaves towards the front. And once I do that, then I will start placing the rose slices in the same way, by placing all the way in the back the smallest sized cane slices, and then I will be placing a few of the medium sizes and leave from the larger sized cane only at most 2. Most of the time it's enough if you just place one pretty much in the middle of your bouquet. And don't make the bouquet too crowded, because it's going to lose the effect. Then once you have placed all your cane slices, it's very, very important that you press them in the clay. They have to be pressed really hard in the clay. After which you use your cutter, the same cutter that you used for the scrap clay, to cut the shape. And then, you know how I like to work on these little mirrors. Place the scrap clay and then cover it with the veneer you just made with the black clay and the cane slices. After which you have again to flatten and burnish until everything is perfectly smooth and even. And why I said it's very important to press the cane slices in, because once you sand, you don't want to sand off the cane slices. So if they are pressed in the black clay, you will just be bringing everything to perfect smoothness. Then all you have to do is to slightly bevel the edge to about a 45 degrees angle. And you see I'm using again the smallest cane bender, but you can use paintbrush handle, and you hold it at a 45 degrees angle. And I'm taking now a larger roller. That's again another one of the cane benders. I love to use them as rollers. And then I am making sure that all my edge is beveled at a 45 degree angle. Be careful with the top area of the heart. You'll have to use something smaller to make sure that you have that 45 degree angle bevel there. Now let's make the backing, and I promised you it's going to be a backing that can be easily used by itself as a veneer, and it will make beautiful cabochons and beads and bracelets and whatever you want to use it for. So for this, just take all the cane ends that were the wastage from when you made the canes, squish them together in small strings, and then reduce the strings to make them thinner and longer. Add a little bit of black, make a string of black as well, and then simply put them together very randomly. You don't have to think this at all. And then consolidate, cut. Don't mirror it, don't Natasha mirror it, just simply cut and put them together again. It has to be quite random if you want to get that beautiful web-like, spider web-like effect. And then you simply cut it in half and you cut crosswise to obtain that effect. You see I'm cutting my piece in 4, and then I'm arranging the slices together, but again I don't pick 2 slices that were one near the other, and you're kind of supposed to make almost a triangle so that it would fit well on the heart, and pass it through the pasta machine just once at about the thickness that it is. Then all you have to do is simply to put it on the back of your pendant. So obviously you're going to use some bacon bond. And the trick here will be to make a pretty edge as well. Of course, when you first place it, make sure that you do not trap any air pockets underneath. So remember, use your fingers to push the clay from the middle towards the edges, and that way you'll make any air travel. And then gently fold over. Do not use your roller there, because if you're going to use your roller there, you're going to simply cut the clay, because if you use the roller on raw clay over baked clay, it's going to get cut. Then gently use your X-Acto knife to trim the excess, because that way you will be covering that thin slice that's still noticeable from the scrap clay. If you just decide to use black clay instead of scrap clay, that's fine. You won't have to be so careful on this. But simply cut the excess and then use some alcohol to nicely smooth out the edge. Anything else, and again, don't go overboard on trying to get a perfectly smooth shape, because just a few swipes of sandpaper will make a beautiful, beautiful edge. And then all you have to do after you get your edges nice and smooth is to bake it again. And then all that is left is simply to put a pinch bail. Careful when you open those pinch bails because they can be breaking very easily. You have to do it very, very slow. And then put the pinch bail in, and there we go. You have a beautiful roses heart pendant.